on, and your reports help me to know that. And so if there's any highlights that you want to add based on what has been presented, I will ask you for that. And then the financial stewardship will be done by Elka Moritz, our trustee. Debbie, thank you. I got a thumbs up. It's always good when your AV team gives you a thumbs up, isn't it? Elka is, Debbie Morris, our treasurer, is healing from a surgery. So Elka, thank you so much for, do I see her in the house? Is she here? Right there. There she is. Elka is going to do the financial stewardship report, and then we're going to have some community engagement and dialogue, and then I'll do the closing. This is intended to be on purpose, similar to our last forum, which was in June, and we just mirrored the deck so that we can just do an update. So hopefully some of this we can roll through, and we will have a forward view in here somewhere. So is there anything before I get started? Okay, Maureen, take it away.
Yes, so welcome, Oakland Center for Spiritual Living family. It is so wonderful to see all you here to want to learn more about what's been going on at the center as a whole. And then, I mean, our intention here is to be love, to bring this community and this manifestation of love out into the world, right? And so how are we going to do that through our work here at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living? And one of the ways is through our own beings. And so by us being here and being connected in community and talking about how we are expressing ourselves in the world and in this community, that is the work that we're doing. And that is why we're here, because we love each other, we love this beloved sanctuary, we love Reverend Sunshine. And so just coming together in community, talking about what's been going on and the ways forward, and hearing your wonderful ideas about how we can make it even better. So look forward to hearing from you as well later on in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Maureen. And let's give Maureen a hand as the president of our board. She's been doing a great job. And you'll see in the presentation who our board, I'll remind you who our board members are. You can also find it on our website and who our staff is as we go through the deck. So next slide, please, Helene. Our weekly services, this hasn't changed a lot. This was in the last slide, the last deck. We do Sundays, as y'all know, in person and live streaming. And these numbers vacillate a little bit, but not really. I mean, on Sundays, what I've noticed, and we do capture in the book back there, it's roughly about 70 people on a Sunday in person. The live stream varies. It says 40 to 80, but sometimes it's a lot less than that, and sometimes it's more. It's hard to, it's still in fluctuation. We need to learn our community, so this just gives you a rough idea. Wednesdays, all virtual, our midweek oasis ranges from, as you can see, 9 to 22 people. It's a solid group. It's a solid group. Our hosts are Reverend Sally Bartholomew and Paul Prosciutti, and they slotted me in for 5th Wednesdays. That's going to change next period going forward. I've been varying up the speakers. We've been having a great time. So that's basically our weekly services. Pause. Okay. Our people, the next slide tells you, and then we're going to show you a picture. We have 9 trustees on the board, 5 on the executive team, which includes all the elected roles. I'm sorry, those aren't elected from the board. So the president, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, and the senior minister. And we have 4 staff, 2 full-time, myself and Constance, and 2 part-time, Peggy Cotton and Dow Becker, our bookkeeper. We have, an awesome ministerial team. It kind of dawned on me, you may have heard this before, but I realized it's like, shoots, besides me, we have 4 ministers. I better create a ministerial team. And so we now meet monthly, and it's wonderful to have that support and to be able to bounce things off of. And so that is, you'll see their picture shortly. We have Reverend Jerry Carter, and Reverend Jerry mentioned it this morning. We have Reverend Sally Bartholomew, we have Reverend Catherine Sachs, and we have Reverend Ike Param, who just made it in. So yeah, I feel really blessed. And we have two ministerial candidates. Well, one is a graduate, one is a candidate, Teresa Gardner and Elena Hutchinson, and Lucian Baker is in ministerial school. So, you know, we're doing well. We have a leadership team that is a variety of folks, leads and co-leads of the various functions that will go through here. We have a lot of volunteers, and as Reverend Jerry said, 95% of our work is done by volunteers. So we thrive on volunteerism. We're going to be focusing more on that next year. In our community, you are community and members. We have roughly 150, you'll see 148, you'll see 150. That whole notion of membership, in my mind, is different than it used to be pre-pandemic. The pandemic has given people a variety of options of where they participate in spiritual community. I know people who do multiple services, you know, online, in person, and so, you know, we need to honor the people who come regularly that might not be members. And that's what I'm thinking about our community. But roughly, those signed up as members are 150. We have regular and visitors, attendees, and it fluctuates, as I mentioned. We have youth, so we have youth and family ministry, so we have families that come. We have young adults. Jackie O is really cultivating our young adult ministry, I will call it, and you know, I often try to engage them, and they're busy doing their thing. I'm not going to give up. There's a way that we can, you know, I want to share pulpit with some of our beautiful young people, you know, so I'm finding ways to integrate them in. So that's our people. The next slide, please, Helene, shows our Board of Trustees. So all the, from left to right, Reverend Sally Bartholomew in the audience, Elka Moritz in the audience, Beth Arkle in the audience, Beth Van Arkle, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Sanford Livingston not here, Vice President, and does a whole lot for our community, including putting together that brunch. That's his crew that put together that brunch. So let's give it up. Maureen French, President, in the audience. Deborah Jackson, present in the audience. Sam Ledion, not here today. And Debbie Morris, whom I mentioned, Treasurer. So this is our board, and let's give them another round. Next, we have our staff. There's, as I mentioned, two full-time, two part-time. Myself as spiritual director and senior minister. Constance Chapman is our administrative and education coordinator, and as y'all know, she is retiring at the end of this year, well-deserved. Dow Becker is our bookkeeper, she's part-time, and Peggy Cotton does so much here on a volunteer and on a staff level. She's our administrative support. So let's give them some love. The ministerial team I've already introduced, you get to see their pictures. Next slide, please. There we go. Let's give them some love. Next slide, thank you, our beloved community. So what we've done in these next slides is break up the various, we interspersed in this deck pictures and graphics and data and, you know, the whole thing so you wouldn't get bored just by seeing writing. So here's a suite of our beloved community and some of the areas, whether you call them departments or I don't know how you want to frame it, and it'll be interspersed throughout as we give data on each of these areas. The greeters and ushers, the leads are listed here. This was a slide from last time. Gabriella Conde. Membership is Reverend Ike Param. Music is Andy Robbins. The visual media is Peggy Cotton. Announcers are Robert Leeds. Robert Leeds. Practitioner Leadership Council. We just had turnover from the old to the new, or the outgoing to the incoming. So our current leadership council, names y'all know, deep in service, practitioner emeritus, Susan Brecker, practitioner emeritus, Dodie Cheney Fernandez in the audience, Susan Urquhart Brown, practitioner, and then Andy Robbins here in the house, plus our practitioner corps, which is regular, which is steady and solid, and they're a very important part of any ministry, in my opinion. So I will highlight the practitioners as often as I can. You've heard me start to talk about laity practitioners. I will also, we have a suite of people who chose not to go get licensed as professional practitioners, but they've taken class, they're holding consciousness, and so you'll hear more about laity practitioners. Youth and family is Jackie Odapede, and a lot of times she's here. I saw her on campus. She may come in, I don't know. And then nonprofit partners, we heard from our one in November, Covenant of California, Covenant House of California, yes. Beth Van Arco leads that. So let's just give these folks some love. Next slide, more about our beloved community. We have Loving Stewards of the Earth, which is currently being held by Reinhard Jolie, and I know he travels a lot, and he's perhaps looking to release that, and they're focused on the environment, and I include in there the garden. You know, we have some dedicated volunteers that, you know, I love it. I see Helen in the audience, and, you know, I'll drive up coming to work, and I see Helen and Margot and Bob and Diane, and, you know, and they're out there, and they just do it with so much joy. They have their gloves on and their knee pads, and our garden is beautiful. So, you know, I appreciate all that they bring there. The Diversity Circle had there on Friday evening. They had their potluck. I intended to go and got caught up in preparing for today, which is, you know, a big day in a lot of ways. And so, you know, that's Doug Myers and Sri Devi, who have been doing this for a long, long time. And then the social justice ministry is booting itself up. There's Crystal Fry in the audience, Deborah Jackson in the audience, practitioner emeritus Carmen West Jefferson, and there's one more person, right? Linda Wyman. Linda Wyman and Karen Peterson. Linda was going to leave. She was, oh, there she is. As I say her name, she comes out and closes the door, taking her bow. And then Karen Peterson's in the audience, you know, so you're going to hear more about this ministry as it boots itself up, which is so important in these days and times. So there's these groups, let's give them some love. And if I've left any names off, you know, be sure and tell me, because I don't want to leave anybody out. As you can probably tell, I'm big on inclusion. So as we break down some of these, you know, groups that I've mentioned, we have the greeters and ushers. Basically, I love it when I was talking to Gabriella. Is Gabriella in the audience? I know she was here earlier, but she was talking to me about her vision about the greeters and ushers, and what I loved about it is Ted is not here either, but I just think it's so amazing that she kept saying that his partners in the house, Jackie, you can tell him I said this, Gabriella kept talking about the TED model. The TED model. You know, when my last two times when, I think Ted has been here as long as I've been involved with this center, you know, Ted used to be stationed out there like Larry is now. Maybe the both of them were there, I don't know, but Ted was always such a welcoming presence with a warm smile and a hug, and I know that that's Gabriella's intention. She has been supporting us pretty hard and heavy with check-in process. So, you know, what we were doing through the pandemic, the check-in process through Breeze, I heard the other day that at one point we were teeing that up to, you know, do check-in anyway, just to get our good data. And then the pandemic showed us that we needed to do check-in for contact tracing for the pandemic, and we have continued to do check-in. We've adjusted, you know, speaking with the compliance team, how we've, you know, done masking, done check-in and all of that, but we still do check-in. What I want to say to you is it's important. for us to check people in so that we can get good data about our community, so that we can understand who's coming, how often it is, and it's not like we're trying to track you down. It's not that, but what it does is allow us to communicate with you, and it allows us to have good data in our system. And so you're gonna be hearing more about check-in as we transform it to, you're hearing a little future focus now, as we transform what I call front of the house right here, so that we have a check-in process, and we're gonna support you in being able to check yourself in and tutor and train and support people who don't know how to do that or can't do that, so that we can keep our data good. Simultaneously, hear me, simultaneously while we honor the TED model or the Gabriella model or whatever model you wanna call it, so that when people come through our doors, they feel warm and welcome, that they want to be here because they're welcome before they even get into the service. So Gabriella and Crystal are really heading that up. Miss Lula is in the audience, and they're regulars. You know, Sean and Rain Dugan are out there. Anybody else I'm leaving out, Crystal, that regularly sits out there? Okay, I know Constance has sat out there sometimes. Yeah, and so anyway, this gives you some other numbers that I've already kind of mentioned relative to the number of people who come. You can see that number fluctuates 48 to 85. I've already told you on a Sunday, it's usually about 70 people in-house, roughly. It could go up, it could go down. Then we've had during this period about 18 new visitors. It's important for us to know this information. Like, you see that one person visited 4 times. They're wanting to come back. There's something that they, you know, like in my mind, I'm considering them kind of like what we used to call member, you know, a regular. They're a regular now, right? 4 people came back 3 times. 2 people came back 2 times, and then 10 people visited once. So that's data that's important for us to know about our community. Yes? Hand her the mic, please. Hold on.
That from an administrative point of view, one of the things that's so wonderful about this is that it used to be that we didn't know if people were visitors, and then you would see them and you would say, oh yeah, they've been here for a while. But in our database, they were always visitors. And so now, like, I think it was about 2 months ago, I transferred something like 18 people from visitors to attendees, because they'd been back enough times. And that's something we can do with this kind of data. That's the kind of thing. And also, Reverend Sunshine every week sends emails to the new visitors. So that's some of the kind of things that we've never been able to do before.
Yeah, thank you. So look forward, thank you for adding that, Constance. Look forward to what I'm calling a campaign. Maybe there's a different word for it. I want to be a leader that asks for what I need and what I think we should do, which you heard me ask today about the concert. But I want to tell you why it's important. That's my way of being transparent. I want to tell you more about why we're collecting the data so that you can opt into the process and you can move yourself from that place of, I don't like that check-in process, to this other side, to understanding why we're doing it and that it's for a reason. The other one that I think of right here is, it just makes sense to say it right here. I'm seeing Reverend Ike there as part of membership, is next year we're going to be looking at virtual membership. Of course, I'm going to use a different word, but I want to know and have a better idea of who is visiting, and plus I want to interact with them. So you're getting a part of my vision now, and Maureen and I were talking about you know, creating a strategic plan, and that we're going to be doing visioning, you know, so you're hearing little tidbits of what's coming up. But back to this, what I'm calling a campaign, I want to know, like, who's coming and who's coming every Sunday online, and why is that? Where are they? Are they away remotely and coming and repeating because they like something here, or are they, local to the area and sometimes come in person but aren't able to come this time. So all of that is important so that we can cultivate a communication with them. It's about community, it's about engagement. And the other thing, while I'm talking about it, I would love to be able to look up there. I'm seeing a big screen. Paul and I have talked about it, so you're getting forward thinking. A big screen up there that we have, our live streaming team where I can see and interact with who's on, or see what they're saying, or see who's on so I can call their name. How would that make you feel if the senior minister is giving a talk and she's calling your name? I mean, can't you imagine that? So that's what I'm looking at. I see a thumbs up. Yep, and I see a couple thumbs up. So y'all hear me. Okay, the next one is membership. And I had already, I guess that's a good segue, whoever put this deck together. I was just talking about membership. So, there's that number again, 148, 150 members-ish. That's not necessarily attendees, right? That's who's slated as members. We had New Member Sunday. Y'all will remember on October 1st during services, we had 4 new members. Did I see? Yeah, we can give that a hand. And I just felt like it was time to open up the space to give people an opportunity should they want to join. They didn't have to, but 4 people said yes. One of them was a couple, is a couple, and two of them are a couple, right? And 2 of them came to that foundations class that I just taught. So this is important, and while, there were only 4 people in that class, it was an important class because all the people in it are very active in our community. And it's sometimes difficult for an instructor. I mean, it's not difficult, but we have to put the work into facilitating a class, whether it's 4, whether it's 25, don't we, Rev. Cat? Right? And so it was worth my effort and my time if I have 4 engaged people who want to take a certificated class to learn about spiritual principles and practices. So that was great. And I've already mentioned virtual membership, so stay tuned for that. Next slide. Music. Our typical music schedule. This slide was in there before. This one is being led by Andy Robbins. We have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th Sundays generally that Kev Choice is here, like you didn't see him today. So there's some times where he's not and we have other people. And so the 1st Sunday, like today, was Omega Ray, but Amy Levine was here. Next, the 2nd Sunday is Luke Monfrank. 3rd and 5th Sundays are usually a pool of guest vocalists. And the 4th Sunday is Deb Santa Maria. And I listed the Sounds of Joy here, or solos from the ensemble. As y'all know, Kenneth Cozy Arrington had 4th Sundays along with Sounds of Joy sometimes. He is on a break right now. I don't know what his integration back, if at all, will be next year. So I just wanted to be transparent and say that if you're wondering. So the next slide, please, Helene, shows you some of the faces of our people. And so let's give music some love. And leads, if you have anything to add, like Constance chimed in, let me know. So Andy, if you have something to say, or Reverend Nike, or anybody that I passed your area, let me know. Moving on to the practitioners. We had a practitioner retreat in September for couple days, and we were out of the area, and it was lovely. I forget the number. Does anyone know? No. It was 18. It was roughly 18 people. That's really good at an overnight retreat for 2 days. And we bonded. We had great conversations. We leaned into each other to learn and know each other more, so it was lovely. I've already mentioned the new Practitioner Leadership Council. We welcomed them in. We honored the outgoing. The outgoing were Robin Rice Olmsted and thank you, Elena Hutchinson, who's deep in her ministerial exams right now, and Andy Robbins. decided to continue. And so then we brought on, along with Andy, Susan Brecker, Dodie Cheney Fernandez, Susan Urquhart Brown. Is that it? Yeah, the 4 of them, yes. Okay, and our newly licensed practitioners, which I'm proud to say, you know, that they came in on my watch. You know, when I got here in January, I taught out the practitioner training, and I appreciate those instructors who stepped aside and said, you know, go for it, because I needed to get to know them, and it was lovely. So we've had practitioner graduation this year, as you know. We ushered them through their practitioner orals, and you know, they finished up the classwork with their written exams, and so honoring them at that retreat was welcoming them amongst their peers. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ritual that was done with them. It was just so lovely. I was so pleased to be there, and you know, what they have said to me is how much they appreciate my attention to the practitioners and that I want to engage and be involved. And I'm just sharing that with you just because it touches my heart and I'm remembering it right now. And that we have a kindred bond in spirit, and I want us to, because we're here to hold you. We're here to hold this community through everything. And y'all the practitioners have held the community through the loss of a minister, through the pandemic, you know, through shutdown, through a long candidating process for a senior minister. So, you know, yay, practitioners. Can we, well, we'll give them a hand in just a moment. Their primary services are ministry of prayer. As you know, we talk about it every Sunday. Supportive classes, as TAs, as instructors, service activities, they lead many of them, and compassionate care when y'all are sick or shut in or have people that transition in your, you know, or having difficulties or having joys. The practitioners are here, and so let's give them some love. And so here's a picture that next slide, I'm so delighted that we can, you know, we took advantage of, thank you, Larry, these are your pictures, I'm pretty sure, all laced through here. So, and let's give Larry some love. Larry Williams. You know, but at my installation in March, you know, took opportunities to take pictures with the board, take pictures with the practitioners, so that we have new pictures, and the new folks are in here. They weren't licensed yet, but they're in here, you know, so it's so good. Next picture shows you at our retreat. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's just so lovely. I mean, we're loving up on each other. It was good food and good conversation, good design for the, you know, and we had some spontaneous, even challenging things that we didn't expect. And we held it in consciousness and came together and worked through it and bonded even more. So it was such a lovely time. Thank you. I'm glad to see, oh, did she leave? I saw Jackie O come in the house. Did she leave just that quick? Okay, I would have acknowledged her, because next one is Youth and Family Ministry. Let's go to the next slide. And this slide was in here before, so this tells you who is in Youth and Family Ministry. The children. You know, we don't have staffing right now for the infants and the toddlers, but we invite the parents and guardians, if they want to watch the service, because there's a TV over there where they can watch the live stream and be with their children in the nursery space. You know, the busy bees who are 5 to 9, the tweens who are 10 to 12, the teens who are 13 to 17, and then the young adults who are 18 to 25. And it varies. It really varies as to how many we have. And I'd love to grow this. You know, I'd love to grow this. Part of growing it, though, means that we would need additional volunteers, and what that means is that next bullet about live scan, because it's a real thing when you're dealing with innocence, is the way Jackie told me that they mention them. Seniors, elders, and youth, when you're dealing with them by law, it has to be a certain way. So you need to be background checked and fingerprinted and, go through the live scan process, which is no joke, let me tell you. And there's an expense to it as well. We have to work with the Department of Justice, and it's gnarly. So we have applied, we are in compliance, we're waiting to hear back from them. The folks that are working with our children right now are in that live scan already, but if we have anybody else to come in, we need to be prepared to do that. And in my mind, coming forward, and I'm building the budget right now, I will probably have to, for 2024, build in some dollars for OCSL to pay for at least the staff to be live scanned, and it comes at, and the cheapest fee for the agency that Jackie O found was $70 a person. That gets to be really expensive. And it gets to be, I guess we could frame it, if you're a volunteer, are you willing to pay that as a contribution to your service? We have to think creatively so that we can, but, I love it. And Lil Kaya came up and they just come up around me and grab me. I want to be accessible, and so clearly to me I am, because they want to do that. I've had new children who have never met me. I think they're more curious than anything, because I wear sparkle, glitz, and glam, and one little one came up and she just stood there and looked me up and down. She was waiting with her adult, to say something to me, but in her mind, because she had on a glitter dress, right? In her mind, she's probably thinking, who is this person? But, I want us to be a family community, because that's what community is all about. So anyway, let's give youth and family some love. All right. Our nonprofit partners, these are the list of the 2023 nonprofit partners. We're almost toward the end of it. You've seen this list. Each of their flyers are framed, I love that, in the back. And Beth is in the audience and is working on 2024. And so if the nomination process is still open. If you know of an agency that you want to nominate, then by all means, please avail yourself to that. So we do lovely work. I mean, Raphael, who was here today, I spoke to him in the courtyard. He was just, and you could see that he's so passionate about, he was going on and on. I had to give him a signal, and but he said, that's good, because I could go on and on about this. So people are passionate. They're appreciative of our giving to them and their support. So I encourage you to, if you have some volunteer time, look at places like Covenant House, California. And Muttville was so lovely last month, and all of them, that y'all nominate are really beautiful. So let's give this program some love. Thank you, Beth. Diversity Circle, is that Sri Devi I see back there? Oh, she is there. Okay, I'm glad, just in time, yes. So Diversity Circle, we've talked a little bit about. They have a monthly program on, is it what Friday? The fourth Friday of the month, this last Friday, which was the last Friday of, no. We did it on Saturday. You did it on Saturday. See, it wasn't Friday, it was Saturday, but this was their year-end potluck, because it was their last session. I heard it went really well. I'm so sorry I couldn't attend. I was planning to attend, and my time just kind of, caught up with me. And so in August, they brought in othered healthcare, complementary and alternative medicine, which was, a very relevant and poignant topic, right? And they bring in folks from outside or even inside to talk about these topics. September, this is during the time period, remember, July through October. So September, they brought in the Tibetan refugees to tell their inside story, which was beautiful, and then they had their potluck. So thank you so much, Sri Devi. How long has it been that you and Doug have been doing this? How many years?
We've been doing this 10 years.
10 years. Oh my goodness. Let's give her some love. And Doug Myers. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I only attended one and planned on attending last week's, but I was at one of them, and I will be at others Friday night is usually a challenge for me, and I guess sometimes Saturday morning is too, but anyway, thank you so much. Continuing on, more about our beloved community. So I told you we broke these up. We have so many auxiliary committees here that, you know, we just wanted to give you a snippet, delve down a little bit, and then give you some more. So this one talks about the bookstore with Linda Wyman, leading that. Education is Constance Chapman. Engagement, well, you know, the marketing committee, I was wanting to perhaps change the name of, because what I see happening, we have such a huge need for marketing, that there is a heavy expectation that is placed on that committee, especially with the number of events that we have. And to be quite honest, we don't have the sophistication or the resourcing right now to address it. And so it's, you know, I'm playing with the name of engagement. You know, these are, the committee has corrected me. It's a very small committee, and rather than it being having a depth of marketing expertise, they have reminded me that we are volunteers who have an interest in marketing, and we are here to support. So there's a difference. They see themselves as consultative as opposed to rolling their sleeves up and creating a marketing plan that we can operate by. That's what we need. So we need to find and broker a bridge between the two, yet we are still getting together. And I will say right here, probably prematurely, because I haven't really said this exactly to the board yet, but you'll probably be an email to the board tonight just to support what I'm saying right now. But Maureen knows, and so does Beth, and so there you go. But we had looked at the suggestion of Cheryl Archer. I saw her in here? No, Cheryl's right there. Yes, at the last open forum, Cheryl made some comments around marketing and an organization that she engaged for her sign company that really helped the visibility and helped, you know, kind of boost it. And so, you know, as soon as she said that, there was, Reinhardt was over there talking to her, Beth was over there talking to her. We were all like, tell us more. So the organization that she referred to as City Scoop, we have since, and I sit on this committee too, on the marketing committee, and I do that. I don't intend to always sit on all these committees, but I think it's my responsibility to help form a committee and help them get off the ground. Then I can back away and then work with the lead, and then they update me, you know, but until then, I feel like I need to be involved with it. So anyway, we met with City Scoop, who is an organization that does marketing for companies, and so long and short of it is they are giving us even more of a discount than they first offered us in order to engage them for a 4 to 6 month period, and we have the first 3 months, it's a month to month, we have the first 3 months donated already by our people, which is very generous, and I believe we can get the other couple months donated too, so that we have a 6 month engagement with this marketing company that can help us market some of our events. And it's not just that, it's also to bring visibility to the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. It's to put us on the map even more than we are now. And so we will be talking to them next week, Beth, Constance, and myself, to get set up quickly, and this is what I need to write to the board about, just to let them know. So there's a lot in there talking about marketing, as well as the other thing I want to say to you is the community engagement survey that you've heard me talk about for a long time. I'm still wanting to do, but what I realized is that as we were putting together a thoughtful survey, what we need to do is give y'all, we need to ask you the questions to get the data that we need that I talked about earlier. We need to do that in a smart and thoughtful way. We can't go, you know, make it too long, so maybe we have to break it up. You know, we have to be thoughtful about how we construct that. We've constructed, I feel like, what is a good survey for you, and I realized that it was so much going on that would be one more thing. And the smart thing to do would be to put it off until the beginning of the year so that you're not so bombarded by all the things and overwhelmed and therefore don't respond, because we want as high a response rate as we can get so that we can get the data. So expect a community engagement survey early next year so that we can learn more about what you want and need in community. Okay, we have the compliance team led by Larry Wyman in the audience. Facilities use is led by Susan Brecker. That is, we stay away from the word rent because it challenges our property tax exemption status, so we call it facilities use. Jackie O, let me just interrupt myself and acknowledge you, because I've acknowledged you a couple times, and then before you know it, you're gone again. So it's like, that's Jackie O, the Director of Youth and Family. And Diane, I'm sorry I didn't see you there, so. Okay, no worries. Back to facilities use. So anyway, this is allowing other people inside and outside of the community to utilize our facilities. The whole facilities or part of the facilities as they want. What I envision for next year is that we're going to perhaps redo the brochure, update the brochure to include, I'm working with Paul on creating a format for, that's not right. We are working on 5 to 7 formats for this place right here in the sanctuary to be able to seat people, or not even seat people, to be able to host different events so that we can market that and so that we can have greater flexibility with how this facility can be used, and then more can use it. So what I mean by that is to, have a classroom style. We do that sometimes in the social hall. But if we had a classroom style for a larger group, because we already have PowerPoint presentation ability, right? We have a platform. This is a great place for a large class kind of thing. So we have that format. And then we also, to the opposite extreme, have a format I asked Paul for no chairs at all in here, so that y'all remember drum circles, because I know drum circles were done here, but we can have circles, or we can have spaces that can be used more flexibly. And we have several other formats, including in the round. Your minister loves circle. And so, but I want to work smartly. Paul knows this structure very well and how to put these puzzle pieces together. So he's diagrammed them out. And we will then, in my mind, you're getting some of the forward thinking. I want to create a ministry of sacred setup. Because there are people, I can guarantee you, who would consider it therapeutic to be able to move these chairs, and however, according to this diagram, that it's contemplative for them. That's the way I want to set it up, as opposed to drudgery. Oh my goodness, we have to move the chairs, and not that. So that we can do this pretty easily. I think we can gain more revenue. Let me talk about it from a business perspective. That's all about the revenue. And in that regard, and I think we would have more flexibility. Also on this slide, okay, facilities is how the operation runs. And Sanford is the liaison on the board. Paul, I'm so glad you're around more. I don't want to overcommit you, but I'm delighted to see you in the house and to have you back. And oh, by the way, I invited him to be a guest speaker at Wednesday Night Oasis, and it was awesome. If you weren't there, you should go check out the recording. What was that date, Paul? 2 Wednesdays ago. Go check it out. And Christopher Brown is also on that. These people, are you kidding, are so dedicated to our center. They are so dedicated. So they, you know, I can't even blink twice, and Larry and Christopher are already here, changing clocks, filling the it's fire extinguishers. You know, the fire inspection that we had said that, you know, by the time I heard about the finding, it had to do with this curtain right here that wasn't fire retardant. Christopher had already gone and purchased it at the lowest possible cost that he could and fixed it, and it was done. You know, so it's just amazing what they do. Yes. Paul, but do we need a mic? If no, put it, hang on. Thank you, Liza.
I am proud to announce, Reverend Sunshine, that when we first started all of this about 10 years ago, Christopher and I and Larry and a whole bunch of people, our list was long. And our list is almost complete. One of the biggest things we've wanted to do for a long time is get new windows in the senior minister's office. Because those drafty old things were not comfortable, and Reverend Sunshine is now enjoying, please check from the outside, you can see them, double pane, insulated, easy to open, and safe and secure windows. That was the last big thing on our list, and I just want to thank all those that supported that happening over the years. So we've made great grounds, literally, great grounds here. So thank you for allowing me to serve, Sunshine.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, so beautiful. And then last but not least on this slide, administration, which I consider the operations of this center, which is why the new position is called Operations Coordinator. I put Constance and I, but certainly Constance has the view from the administrative coordinator position of, you know, the administrative and operational things that support the office and the flow. So we're about to delve into these suite of things a little more, but let's give everybody that I've mentioned some love. Yeah, so the next two slides are for the bookstore. So remember, it's July through October, and what I've given you is just a snippet of the financials from the bookstore, July, August, and September. The October financials are not complete yet. And here's the thing, the bookstore is not one that produces a lot of revenue. The bookstore is here for your convenience. It's beautiful what has been put together, and I certainly appreciate so many people who, when I came on, said, if you want to change this, let us know, and you have at it. Linda said the same thing, and it's like, why would I change it? I've gone in there, looked at her inventory. I told her we were going to take a field trip to my favorite Angel store. I call it Angel Store, where I go to get all my workshop stuff and things like that I've gone to for years. She's gone over there. But her shop over there is a miniature of that larger shop there. Like, she has a variety of things that serve the needs that we, I think, in this center need. So I'm so appreciative of what Linda has done. And I will say right here that I strongly encouraged a 3-week closure of the bookstore. She settled for 2. And I all but had to just say, well, okay, you know. But here's the reason why, because she's tired. She, you know, does other work, and it can be taxing. And so, you know, especially since we weren't losing a lot of revenue, because the bookstore doesn't draw a lot of revenue, it simply kind of breaks even. I said, I need to have you whole. I need you to be restored. And so I will keep working with her on that, Larry. You be sure and let her know. Okay, so the July, you can see the numbers here. The July financials, the revenue was a little over $2,000. You see the cost of goods. You see that there's not a huge gross profit, and the profit margin was low then. The profit margin fluctuates. And, you know, she's always throwing sales and trying to move inventory, and, you know, that's why she throws the sales, to make sure that it's running, and it intersects with what our bookkeeper, Dal Becker, is doing. And so it's a lot that goes into having this bookstore. And I can't imagine not having it because it serves our community when we're going to have classes or whatever it is. You can buy the books in here. And so looking at the August financials, you see there was a lower revenue, so it fluctuates a lot of times because she's trying to move the inventory. Sometimes the sales get slow. These were summer months. Sometimes, you know, it's an old adage that people are not here during the summer, but the pandemic changed all kinds of behaviors. The cost of goods was in a negative. The profit was, you know, the profit margin was about the same. And so lastly, the September financials on the next page, it went up, you know, you can see how the profit was $300 and the profit margin was 37. So all to say, you know, give Linda some love when you see her, and yeah. And if you feel like, you know, working in, is there anybody here that works in the bookstore? Beth does, and Vicki does. Yep, thank you for doing that. And so, you know, we need to keep that propped up because I believe it's important. The next one is education. What this slide is saying is, it was a denser slide last time because you have a regular education core that meets every month, led by Constance. We have a solid education core, and I basically asked them when Constance retires, will y'all continue? Because I'm shifting things a little bit. Right now, I don't think we need a lead necessarily for education because the frank reality of it is education here is not what it used to be. It used to be pre-pandemic, we could count on a huge revenue stream from classes. We would have folks registering for certificated classes, like 50 people at a time. Obviously, we were a lot bigger, right? I told you the spiritual principles and practices class, even though it was very, very powerful, two folks in that class in the house, it was 4 people. We have struggled with, I'll use the word struggle, we have struggled with getting people signed up to classes and to workshops. And what I will tell you very transparently is I, as a senior leader, do not want to be put often in the position where the week of the workshop or a class, I'm having to potentially cancel it. That's not fair to any of the facilitators or anything. So that's why we need the community engagement survey. However, on the education front, we are doing, Constance, well, we're going to do it in the beginning of the year. So a focus group, two focus groups to pull, I forget how many, they'll tell me in a minute, you know, small focus groups to ask specific questions of a diverse array of people who've taken classes, who've not taken classes, you know, all over the spectrum in the community to see what it is, what their experience is, or what it is they want to see, because it's hard right now for us to plan as an education core what to offer, because it's not being held in the same way, and we don't know why, so we need to understand that. Yes, Constance?
Well, just about the focus group, one's going to be in person, one's going to be online. And we did come up with a list of people that we sort of chose based on some people who were new, some people who've been around, some people have taken classes, some people haven't taken them for a while. And I sent out an email, we got a little bit of a response. And so we might do it again, but we might also talk about opening it up and just saying, if you're interested and you're willing, let us know, and then we'll ask you a little bit about your education focus, because we really do need a wide range of people so we can start to get an idea of what has shifted since the pandemic, because we don't know. We know we can see the results of it, but we don't know what's shifted in here.
Cheryl, thank you. Constance, were you done? Yeah, thank you.
Just a comment with regard to what has shifted since the pandemic in terms of how people learn and how people approach learning. I just recently had a breakfast with one of the ladies I used to mentor way back in the corporate days, and she said, oh, since the pandemic, a A lot of places have just kind of closed down whole brand new buildings. We just don't communicate in that way. That personal thing that used to be so admired, the water cooler, the whole thing, you can get everything online. So I say that only to say that maybe it's time for us to look at other ways to plan courses, to plan participation, because people simply don't have time for some of the older traditional ways of learning.
Yeah, thank you. The other piece that I think of is, and I've said this at the last forum, is the way we deliver education. So we need to do better at what I'm going to call hybrid. Everything needs to be hybrid right now, like it or not. In person, there's some people who only want to do in person. There's some people who only want to do virtual. We need to do both. And we don't know who will do what. That's why we need to ask. We have put in for a grant through the Hefferland Foundation to help outfit us for a smart classroom and with the equipment that we need, as well as incorporated into that grant had to do with some of our sound here and some other stuff. So hopefully we'll get some of that money. I have an inside connection that says toward the end of the year, they're just, barely trying to support the requests that are out there, but I understand we can apply again. So we won't hear back until sometime this month. And if we are granted, fine. Luckily, I know somebody on there and 2 people on the board. And so I've talked with them recently, and so we'll see what they give us, and maybe we can apply for something else. But bottom line is we need to do that better.
Thank you. I'd like to just support what Reverend Sunshine Michelle is saying, what you said as well. I'm on the education team. I'll be one of the facilitators for our focus groups. I can't stress enough how important this is, because it is through our ability to come together, whether virtually or in person, that we really do create community. It's not just on Sundays. And I know that most of the close bonds and connection that people have built over the years here at Oakland Center happens when we're sitting in rounds together, sharing deeply. The idea of our being able to deliver in a different way is very real, and not only do we need money for equipment, we need money for training. Even for those of us who have been teaching for a long time, it's very different now. So as you think about next year, and we think about budgeting, as we think about how do we support this community, this is why the pledge campaign is very, very important, because we want to be able to work with everyone here and those who are watching us online to say, how can we serve better? How do we reach you better? How do we bring you in so that we can all do it together? There's no longer this idea of we are the hierarchy and we're going to tell you how it's happening. These focus groups, these surveys are ways for us to be able to work collaboratively and intelligently and with a lot of love to create something new, because it's time. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that addition there. Going back to the slide, so there's one certificated, which means that it is offered by Centers for Spiritual Living. It's their curriculum. I finished that class last week, and we had a good time. We had a great time, actually, in that class. We had 2 workshops during the period, Doodle with the Divine, which was Constance Chapman, and the person, Shiloh Sophia, as a part of the nonprofit partner. What? Musea. And you had about how many? 30? About 30. But let me tell you, to get to 30, we had to work hard. Same for the next one, Just Say No to Aging Gracefully, Reverend Dr. Georgia Prescott. She wanted a minimum of 10. The Wednesday before the Sunday workshop, we had 8. I reached out to her to say, do we go or no? And she said, let's go anyway. By Friday, and we're still drumming it up. By Friday, we had 15. And then she was saying, can somebody support me in the class? By Sunday, we had 30. That's hard to plan for. That is really hard to plan for. So I'm not sure what we need to do differently but it worked out. But maybe it's small groups that work, small learning groups, because Dr. Dan, I'm surprised I haven't heard about Dr. Dan yet. You know, I hear about that all the time. You know, some of the small workshop kind of, you know, small circle groups seem to be thriving. So we just need to know for sure if that's the direction we're going, and then we can plan that way. You know what I mean? And to Cheryl's point, we can maybe even advertise differently. So on the right side, under other activities, you know, we talked about the focus group. We talked about, you know, moving into Constance's retirement as education coordinator. And Judith Roberts in the House is looking to do a book study based on the book called The Big Leap in January. So that's what we have for education. You can look at the net education income, $457. That's a lot lower than it would have been in any other period since I've been engaged with OCSL. So anyway, let's give education some love. And thank you, Constance, for all your efforts and, you know, all of that. And maybe we can give Constance a hand for her specific efforts, because we won't be able to do that again. Yes? Okay.
There's another way of doing education that I don't see anyone in CSL doing, and that is to pre-record like half hour, 45 minutes, and then people can buy the whole class, but they can watch it as they want. You can have some live sessions, you can have some that are pre-recorded. And what I see is online that some of the spiritual teachers have huge followings who are doing that. And we've got a lot to offer here, and it's a totally different way of thinking, and I think that I just want to encourage the Education Corps and everyone else here to think differently, because we could do that. We've got the equipment now. We could record classes, and then have material that supports them, and people can learn online at their own pace.
Thank you. You may have to remind me that you said that, but thank you. Okay, next slide. I talked mostly about this, so we're just going to pause on it for a moment. I've mentioned most of these bullets on why I'm calling it engagement. I don't know, but you know, basically it's marketing. And on that committee, Reinhard Jolie is heading it up, and Beth Van Arkel's on it, Helene Cirillo is on it, and myself. And you know, I talked about City Scoop. We're engaging with them next week. And what I didn't say is that last bullet is, her name is Sage, is that right? Yeah, Sage Artist is, was previously stopped and has been doing a boost on Facebook, which means that she's posting, you know, specific things on just Facebook, right? It's not anywhere else, yeah. And that's what we need. We need someone who has regular activity in there, and I'm not convinced that we don't need to pay somebody to do this. And so I'm expecting that City Scoop can help us in that area. And so anyway, that's all I have for marketing. Beth, Helene. Sage is in Truckee, so she can do that remotely. So this goes back to my virtual membership. Let me just use that term because I can imagine us having volunteer tasks, like we have someone to sign up, just like Gabriella and Crystal's, Miss Lula, sign up to be the greeters out there. We can have somebody sign up online and rotate to be the virtual host, where I know Peggy does it already, but Peggy's doing a whole lot of other things where they can talk with the people online and engage them, and it will draw people out. And also we can you know, have people to do these, posts in a way that gives us greater visibility. So that would be another online task that we could do. So let's give marketing engagement some love. Cheryl. No, you need a mic, please. Andy, oh.
So sorry, I'm just gonna put on my marketing hat. Can we just, for the slides in the future, I'm a sign person, so for contrast, do not use a light color with white type. It makes your slides not readable,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you for saying that, and, you can pull me aside and say that next time, but thank you. I'm sorry if you can't see them, but I did mention everything on here, so I don't want to go back over it, but trust me, I did say everything, didn't I? Yes. Those of you that can see it, do I need to say anything more? Okay, moving on. Did we give them some love? Yes. We did, okay. Facilities use, next slide, during the period. Okay, so my attempt here was Susan Brecker gives me a list of, in her report, things that, are forthcoming even beyond the month. So what I thought I would do is not only tell you what happened during the month, but on that next page, what's coming up. So it tells you the gross income. It's not bringing in a whole lot of money, but for instance, so we have like Fisk University uses us often, and they have a picnic here. I understand is annual. They had that in July. You can see that the gross income is not that much, $420. I don't know how long they are on property, but this is for community use. That's part of the reason why we call it facilities use. But I am willing to talk with anybody on the whomever would come talk to us on property tax exemption if our status was in jeopardy. I could justify, even if they think differently about community use, all these things that we're engaging in have to do with community. Even if it doesn't look like it, it absolutely does. Okay, so we had several memorial services on Barbara Williams. We had on September 9th, Reverend Ikea led that. It was lovely. That yielded over $1,000. And it says gross income. I wasn't sure because in some of the reports it said net income. We do have expenses associated with this. We have to hire a sound technician, the janitorial, we had the AV team, so those are the type of typical expense, Susan's time. So that's the expenses that come off of that. Sons of Norway regularly use us on a regular, just like what's not on, ongoing at the very top. I always want to say AAA. AA is not AAA. I used to work at AAA. Anyway, Alcoholics Anonymous uses us regularly. And, it's a community effort, so that's great. September, let's see, we had a 50th wedding anniversary celebration in here in September. We had another memorial service yay! No, he's clapping because it was his. Trudy, John Chastain's mother's memorial service was here. And then the Moyo Institute is regularly using us also, and I asked Susan to ask them, thank you for your question, because when I said this put this in the board report, there was a question around, Maureen asked the question, well, can we attend any of these events? And I said, well, I don't know, let me see. Well, the Moyo Institute, I had Susan ask them, can our practitioners come to their class for their students and have our practitioners gain continuing education units for it? And the answer was yes. So that's love. If I'm able to have it opened up to the congregation, I will, but this is a lovely partnership when we can do that, where we're having people host various things on site that we can attend. So that's beautiful. Next slide. These are some of the upcoming things. Again, Sons of Norway, there's no income listed there. The Awesome Orchestra, is that a part of, Andy, the OSA? No. A volunteer community orchestra. They use us often. They have their rehearsal here, so they're going to have several rehearsals. As you can see there, we have December 9th, Christine Anderson, I was mentioning during service. Her memorial service was already booked for here. Let's see, and then there's going to be a somatic training in January. So this is lovely, and I think, as I mentioned earlier, the flexible formatting that I'm working on with Paul will help us advertise, like direct marketing to certain organizations that come use our facility, because you can set it up all these different ways, and it might be really good for what you are looking to do. So Susan's not here today, Susan Brecker, but all the people who support, I know it's you know, the AV team, and sometimes music is necessary, and any others who support facilities use, let's give them some love. Administrative coordination, this is basically Constance's. This gives you a snapshot. Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh, yeah.
On November 11th.
The previous slide, please, Helene.
Yeah, November 11th, there's another event, which is Moyo Institute again. You invited the practitioners to that.
Yeah, I asked Susan about, oh, let me let you finish your question.
Oh, that
Are
was
they
it.
in
Just
conflict?
that I don't know if we have one group in here and one group in the social hall.
It's something like that. I asked that question, and they don't conflict. It's either
Yeah,
different
okay.
times or different something.
Okay. I just remember that was an event I'm planning to go to, and it wasn't listed there, so.
Yeah. It's not listed here?
It wasn't on the slides. She's just pointing out that it was on, that it's something that's coming up,
Uh-huh.
but it's not listed on the slide.
Oh. Oh. Do I need to look into that? They're both on here, right?
The November 11th for the Moya Institute is not on the slide.
Oh. I see. Thank you. Oh, I see what you're saying. I looked on October 11th. Okay, so let me just write myself a note. November 11th. Thank you, Judith. And thank you, Maureen, for helping me to understand what was being said. Okay, administrative coordination. Some of the things that Constance does and has done during this time frame, distributed, you know, you should be giving, oh, I didn't do that letter, did I? The giving letter. Oops, the giving letter. Anyway, you usually get a giving letter. If we're late, it's probably because I just remembered I was supposed to draft one. But anyway, I'll do it soon. But you get every quarter a letter from me saying, thank you so much for giving X amount during this quarter, which is another reason that we love Breeze. We need a record-keeping system. Event scheduling and planning, you know, there's been a lot of that. We've had lots of activities, which you will see on a slide coming up here shortly. Involvement in ensuring the implementation and the delivery of Wednesday and Sunday documents, the weekly Village News, marketing for Together We Shine concert and the crafts fair, administrative support on transition planning. So I've been working with Constance for some time on her transition, and let me just pause here to mention, you know, I don't have much of an update. I do have an interview that I'm in next week with a candidate. I have posted it, the position, which is now called Operations Coordinator, because that seemed to make sense to me as we looked at the job description and moved a few things around. So, you know, I haven't been getting the type of resumes that feel, even though I said, you know, I really feel like someone has to have their own spiritual practice or be familiar with the New Thought community or Centers for Spiritual Living in particular, and I'm getting none of that. You know, so they're not even reflecting any understanding of that. And so I'm just knowing, and I appreciate you knowing with me, holding the consciousness of whomever is that right and perfect person is making their way to us, just as we're making our way to them. And there will be a transition plan. I'm not going to let it flop. Trust me. It would not behoove me to do that. So I will be working on Plan B, should that be needed. Let's see. We finalized a contract with Constance's lead on an IT company because the other one was being sold that we were working with. Our computers are really important for us here, just like they are in the rest of the world. So we got to keep our computers working properly. And our 2024 Brighter Horizons Pledge campaign that Reverend Jerry is taking the lead on. Thank you so much for your bright, cheery announcements on those and testimonials that you've coordinated. So that's the stuff that Constance is doing. Let's give her some love. And we will have a retirement acknowledgement. We haven't put it exactly on the calendar yet, but we will, whether it's, you know, a Sunday after service or something to acknowledge Constance as she departs. Okay, events that are, here's the event slide, that are past and forthcoming. The reason I put this in here is for y'all to see and know that our community is engaged. We are, you know, some of it, not as much as I would like participation, but it's planted seeds, and I feel really good about what we've accomplished thus far. And this is just in the period. So we had combined practitioner oral panels, which you probably heard about the last time because we were planning for it. That, pardon me, happened on July 1st. That involved Heart and Soul, East Bay, and Oakland Center, and we had several other centers involved. And going forward, I want more collaboration, so you can look forward to that. But what I'll also say is that takes some work and cultivation. You know, there's been some divides that have happened over the years, and I think we have to work that pretty specifically. So stay tuned. I'm up for it, and I think it will be great. We had 14 people attend the SOAR Convention, Centers for Spiritual Living gathering at Asilomar in August for a couple days, and one practitioner taught a workshop that was Constance, and she had 44 people in there. So Oakland Center was in the house, large and in charge. Okay, we attended the Laurel Street World Music Festival in August. We had our parking lot party here in August. We attended the Oakland Pride Festival. We had New Member Sunday, October 1st. Some of y'all may remember we were at the Alameda Pride Festival. We had an evening with Marianne Williamson, which came up really, really quickly, and we had to be deft and swift. I had to be to react to decide if I wanted to engage our community in that way. I talked to our people. Wouldn't do it without doing that. You know, I talked to start Constance and Susan Brecker, and I may have talked to Andy and a couple others. Can we do this? Paul, I talked to you, and we all huddled, and we were able to. So we pivoted, we filled the house, and we knew that we would. We even were prepared because it was hard to know, like, how many would come, you know, or it could have been too many or not enough. You know, it was just really like a toss-up. We were prepared for overflow in the social hall to live stream over there. We didn't have to do that, but we were ready and we showed up well. So I think that in and of itself deserves a hand. The Evening of Blessings, as you heard Dorothy exclaiming about today from this very spot, is coming up next Friday. Dia de los Muertos is, we're having that celebration, which you heard Alma talk about today. And please participate in that. Put stuff on the altar. Come to that event. Together We Shine concerts, November 17th. The Holiday Crafts Fair is December 3rd. And we will be honoring so Constance and I got together to plan, this a couple months ago, year-end activities. because I knew it was all going to come rushing in on us. And so, you know, and we have limited resources and so much going on. So what I chose to do through our brainstorming, and that's why I have this bullet, we're going to honor the holy days and the holiday celebrations during our Sunday services. I know sometimes we have, and that some of that is because of when the holiday falls. So Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, they're both on Sundays. And rather than having a separate Christmas Eve candle lighting service, which we would typically do, right? Probably come in the morning for service and then come back. It's just too much. And I needed to narrow it, so I am going to, I think it's in this past newsletter, ask that the services be from 10:30 regular service to noon, so we have an extra half hour. And I want to incorporate people in the community for Hanukkah, for Kwanzaa, for New Year's Eve, obviously, for winter solstice. Did I get them all? It's 4 Sundays. And I think did you put those? So there's a half sheet out there that, there's a half sheet on the front table that tells you the services and when we're going to honor those things. So let me just take the opportunity to say, if any of those holy days fall within your culture, please contact me if you want to be a part of the service. Okay. All right, so we have a few pictures. Now that I've told you about the events, let's go to Alameda Pride. And I understand that this was Sam Leon's idea. You see on that right-hand side where the flip chart paper says, "One love, I am," and people started writing. That sounds like that was a good hit for people to come write. You know, it's filled with stuff. And they had, you know, you'll see Reverend Jerry in all the pictures. You see Beth there, and Reinhardt was there, and Linda was at some of them. Linda made that beautiful, right next to Reverend Jerry in that middle picture, that spinning wheel. I went to the Laurel Street Fair, and that's what drew people over there, was because they got to win something, you know, so we took that to everything. Next slide. The Laurel Street Fair, I was there. There's Reinhardt. Oh, and there is Bonnie Carpenter was there, and Beth, you know. And then next slide, you see the Oakland Pride. You see Jackie O and Maureen. Like the outfit, Maureen. Mm-hmm. And then next slide, the parking lot party. Had so much fun. Oh my gosh. You see us dancing there. You see Reverend Sally there. There was, what they call that? Body art. And you see the young person on the trampoline? My favorite story. Our neighbors right over here were vendors, right? Constance had the brilliant idea to invite our neighbors in the area, and beautiful family, 2 adults and 2 children, or young people, let me say, and they had cappuccino stand with little pastries or whatever, and what do you call it? Cornhole. It was the most popular. It was lovely. They came over here, they interacted. This is partnership. This is what community means. And so there's that. Yes, whose hand? Helen, did you? No, I saw your hand. Oh, taken care of. Okay. And the youth Jackie O had youth and family over there, was in the social hall. They had ping pong. It was great. Next slide. This is Marianne Williamson was walking the aisles and asking, you know, somebody asked a question back there, and she walked over there to them. And I, you know, have said it to our camera people several times, you know, but Paul cautioned me and said, you can't do that until we get better lighting. But but I want to walk the aisles too, so stay tuned. I might be doing that. But anyway, that was Marianne Williamson. So let's give all of our events a hand. Okay, we're right on time. We're down to the last last bit here, and I am going to welcome forward Elka Moritz to come talk about the financials. You want to be up here or there or where? Okay.
As Reverend Sunshine said, I'm filling in for our treasurer, Debbie Moore.
Andy, is the mic on? Oh.
It's on. Okay, here we go. I'm filling in for Debbie Morris, the treasurer on the board. So, let me see, what do we have? There it is.
Keep it up to your mouth, Elka. Yes.
Here we are. Our regular income for the period from January through September 30th of this year, as you will see, is $269,693. Then you deduct from that the expenses of $286,135, which brings us to the bottom line of our January through September profit or loss, in which case it is a loss of $16,441. And there is a note on the bottom that explains that it included the $37,181 from the ERC claim, which is the government grant that was given to us during the COVID episode.
And Elka, I'm sorry, I'm remembering that I did not get back to you. I did talk to Dow, and we wanted to confirm the amount. We have a pending amount that is forthcoming from our last ERC claim, which stands for Employee Retention Credit. Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. And so we have another $7,000 that's coming, but once that comes, because we've applied for this as much as we can, that will be it. So hold your questions, because we're going to go on to the next sheet. And the last time we, unfortunately, it was omitted inadvertently. So the financial overview.
Yeah, the last slide was our income statement for this year. This is the balance sheet or financial overview. And this lists all the bank accounts we have and the current amounts as per September 30th in those accounts. And these are totaled on the bottom for a total of $353,321. And that is our current reserve. So,
and to Cheryl's point of it's hard to read, do we need to go through line by line the okay, so you can see this? Yes. Okay.
yeah, it's the first one that was hard to read.
Thank you.
And I did read that, so, yeah.
Okay, did you have anything more to add?
I don't have anything else to add.
Thank
So
you, Elka.
questions?
We're going to actually get to questions. Let me just go, can you hold your question just a second? Don't go, Elka. Maybe you want to stay there so that you and Maureen can support this. I'm sure there's going to be questions. There always are on the finances. Can we go to the next slide? I just want to do the three financial slides just to do them all at once, and then we can open up the floor. So, oh. This is the one you can't see. Okay, so it's two categories. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. The two categories are expense projections and contributions. So let me tell you what it says. Under expense projections, the whole purpose of me putting this here is for you to understand that the board has been entertaining and I asked for a report. Dow and I worked on a report to illustrate what our expense projections are if we had no services, no Sunday services or anything. How much would it cost for us to operate this center? Like, as who said, oh, Robert, you said it earlier today that, you know, we own the property, but there's a cost to upkeep. There's a cost for us to be in this property, right? Some utilities, the grounds keep, and other things like that. So we have come up with, and I was just sharing that in transparency, the board has been talking about, like, understanding better what our expenses are to run this shop, minus any contributions that we might have, right? Minus any revenue. Like, what would it cost even if we didn't have anything coming in? And then be able to understand it against the reserves, what Elka just went over, so that we know when and if, I'm hoping not, we ever get to a point where we need to adjust something so that we're not bleeding. That was the purpose of that whole thing, and we're still talking about it. So, you know, it says, understand the cost of operations with and without weekly service costs. It will be used for contingency planning to preserve our reserves. And we need to keep expenses flat and low and increase revenue to thrive. So, I mean, that's the basic way a business works, right? You keep your expenses down, you keep your revenue up, and then you do more than break even, right? You're able to continue to contribute to reserves, is what we need to do. We're not in the position that we would like to be, which is why we wanted to raise funds, and we still want to monitor our expenses. So that's one thing. The next thing is contributions. And I'm only putting this, listen to me carefully. I'm only putting this here in transparency because it has been said to me a couple of times that pre-pandemic, it was shared in these meetings that there was a number given per member how much it costs to operate Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. However, there's a sensitivity to that calculation and to giving that calculation because it builds in an expectation that every single attendee, I'm not saying member necessarily, remember membership has changed, so we might have some regular people who are not members, that it would be unfair of us to say that, you know, calculation, whatever it turned out to be, because that presumes that everyone has that money to give, that everything is equal, and, you know, and the reason I put it challenges equity and diversity considerations, because for us to say that to someone at this point in time, maybe there was a reason why it was said before, but I can't really, in clean conscience, say that now because it doesn't take into consideration somebody's income is low or they're in a marginalized group, and for me to give them a number would presume that they can pay that. So I just wanted to say it because people have said it on the board and they've said it otherwise, and I don't want to give that calculation for those reasons. So now I'm done. There's probably questions on what I just said, but let's turn to Reverend Catherine.
Thanks, Reverend Sunshine, and I really like what you said about a set amount to get your seat in the chair. I really appreciate that. The question I had, if we go back to the previous slide that showed income and our loss for the year. Previous slide. Okay. Our net loss, then, if we deducted the ERC income, which we're not going to get, our net loss could have been $48,000, $45,441 instead of 16. We got another 7,000 coming from the ERC, but that's our last gasp at that point, right? So from this point forward, our ability to sustain ourselves is our ability to sustain ourselves.
Yes.
Correct? My question then would be, I agree about the idea of a specific contribution, but do we have a set budget that we can project, that we can tell people that overall, this is what we would be shooting for to keep Oakland Center viable for 2024?
So I'll comment, and then Maureen, if you have comments. There's two things that are corrections. We did get the ERC. This was income that we did receive already, this $37,181, just to be clear, plus the $7,000, which includes, which doesn't include interest. So apparently Dow was telling me that the interest, because, you know, the ERC that we applied for was from 2020 and 2021. So the IRS has added the interest of that money, I guess, to a hefty amount. So it ends up being more than we expected. We expected 41,000, and we're actually probably going to get about 43 or 44. So we did get that income. And I want to clarify what I think I heard you say, and I probably could have confused you, is I don't want to give people a number for their, I do not want to do that.
I'm at a budget estimate that we need.
A total. I'm working on the budget now. So the budget process is I will prepare a budget that, with Dow's assistance, that then I will take to the board and, you know, we'll make some tweaks. And yes, that needs to be, there needs to be an amount. It needs to be an amount to we want sustainability, we want viability, and we know that we're not bringing in enough. Like, we're at in a place where we will begin to tap our reserves, which we don't want to do. So that's the threshold I think that you're talking about, so that we minimize the need to do that. We don't want to tap our reserves. Did you have anything else to say about that, Maureen? Any comment? Cheryl? Yeah. Is Andy gone? Yes. Is there someone else that can run a mic in the back? I know, but rather than you having to run too.
So my comment is that it is not necessarily a dollar amount, butts in the seat per se. What it really is going to take is a different view of how to earn revenue, how to increase facilities revenue, how to do other types of classes, online or otherwise. We need a strategic plan that allows us to tap into other sources of income such that it is not a dollar amount per congregate.
Yes, and I see you, Amy. So Paul, Amy can be after Judith. Yes, you're right, and, oh, I just lost my train of thought when I did that. Hang on a second. You were saying, oh, and about, yeah, I think the bottom line, thank you. I think the bottom line is more people coming more regularly with more regular contributions. That's part of the reason why it's down, but it's in addition to that, it's more people using the facility. That's why I'm working with Paul for more flexibility on our seating so that we can market to other people and be more attractive. And it's fundraising, and it's, you know, but it comes at, you know, you have to, at a consideration, because we need people that are going to support those events. And if we're thriving on volunteerism, we have more events. What ends up having to be balanced is our people are tired. We're tapping on the same people, and so I want to have a level of engagement with the new people who are coming. Here's the thing, people, we got new people coming. I see them every single week, and they tell me they're coming. They tell me they like it. They're bringing people with them. So we have a flow going. We just have to know our community enough so I can go tap them. And I'm saying because if I, as a senior minister, go say, well, do you mind, will you come support us in this event? I am more than likely going to get that person coming than when I stand up here and say, I need these things, and I get no volunteers. So we have to tap. So it's a mix of what we need to do. Did you have any more, anybody?
Okay, I had a couple of specific questions. Did the income from the auction, was that included in regular income here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was $4,900 or something? Okay, that was regular income, because we don't have an auction all the time, so. Yeah, and then the other one was from the other slide. There was a self-help category that said $124,000. What is self-help?
That's a bank, but
Oh, it's the name of the bank? Oh, okay, I had no idea. Thank you.
Is it the name of the bank or the name of the account? It's a credit union account. It's a credit union. What were you saying, Larry? So first we have, huh? It's a federal credit union. We have Amy and then Reinhardt.
Okay, so I might have mistaken this. So I remembered in the candidating process, you said you think out of the box. That was you, right?
I'm not understanding you.
Oh.
Start again.
I remember during the candidating process, you were saying that you like to think out of the box, right?
That
was you.
sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, because I think out of the box too. So I'd just like to propose this idea. I'm not saying that it can be instituted easily and that we have to address all the details about it, but I'd just like to throw this out as an idea for revenue that has to do with the facilities. So I'm in San Leandro, and there's a synagogue there, Temple Beth Shalom, and they were, financially they were in trouble for a couple of years, and different administrators and rabbis coming and going. And one of their biggest income is their preschool. And it's always baffled me why we don't have a preschool here, because that could be a win-win in many areas. I think there's a real need for strong spiritual preschools that we could fill, and I think it would also at the same time be bring in more families. So I just wanted to throw that out as a long-term idea.
Thank you. And yes, yeah, I think we should, kind of put everything on the table. I mean, some of it may be more viable than others. I can come up with a couple of reasons off the top of my head, not reasons, but things that we would need to explore, of resources, of curriculum, of, instructors, of, just a variety of things, the effort that would take, let alone the requirements from the government, the Department of Justice, yeah, that would be required to run a preschool. So I think there's a lot, but I don't want to discredit anything, because you're right. I mean, the neighbors right here that I talked about, the cappuccino stand, they split their proceeds 3 ways. And by the way, he came up with his son, the father, and it was a whole presentation. The son hadn't said anything to me the whole day. And then this is the most I'd heard him talk. They handed me $100. It was like ones and just a big wad of money. But you could tell it was a poignant moment. They were so excited to be able to give to us. Split it 3 ways, so they did pretty good for themselves. For the other one was the German school that their kids go to. To your point, like a spiritual school, their kids go to a German immersion school, and they were supporting them. They invited their people for the German school to this event. So it could be very viable for us, Amy. I don't know, but thank you very much.
My point is that the model is out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Helen, I see your hand, but who are you pointing to? Reinhardt and then Helen.
Okay. So at least for the large reserve accounts, so the last one, the summit and the...
Can you keep it up to your mouth?
The summit and the self-help, the large reserve accounts that we have, do we know what kind of interest rates we are getting these days? Because as you probably all know, that has changed dramatically over the last 12
I
months
don't
or so.
know right off. I could find out, but I
Okay.
have no idea.
Okay.
Was that your question? Helen had her hand up. Robert and then Helen. Thank you.
Hi. Actually, Reinhardt just asked one of the questions I had, which is about the rate on the CDs, because they have gone up, and we just want to be maximizing our passive income from those savings. Reverend Sunshine Michelle, what you said about not wanting to give a specific number about how much it costs per seat. I understand your rationale for that. At the same time, I agree with Reverend Catherine about how people need to have the bigger picture. I mean, if we're falling $2,000 a month short between our income and our expenses, people need to know that. I mean, they need to have a perspective. I mean, I think we need to be adults about our financial situation and present the reality to people, not from a consciousness of lack, but from a position of being responsible. I want to mention too that the different suggestions about different streams of income, I think that's great. We do need to look at all different streams of income. And ultimately, it does boil down to, I think it was Maureen was saying that we need to have more regular attendees. We need to get our membership up 50, 100 people who are contributing regularly and being a part of it. And sometimes it's going to take spending some money to make that happen. I think the marketing consulting that we're getting from that company you mentioned is a great idea. I think we might have to spend a little bit of money to get our name out there so that we can get people in and on a regular basis and have that contribution be something that's just built into our membership. I'm complete.
Yeah, thank you for that, Robert. And you're right. You're probably right that people need to know, and maybe at the annual meeting we'll find a way to give that calculation without making people feel like unless they give that, they're not welcome here. So that there's a balance. And I think that's could so easily be miscued. And I really don't want to do that. And to the getting membership up, all the other centers are experiencing the same thing, in some way, shape, or form. So it's a tricky thing. Is Helen next?
Helen, I just wanted to say in terms of a preschool, it could be there's already some group that's looking for a space. And we could just say we could make this a preschool space and somebody else can do all of the technicality.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, now that's consciousness right there. That's what I consider that, to not only think outside the box, to present something that might not be typically, we were talking about the mundane today, the ordinary. We don't have to do the ordinary. We can do the extraordinary, and we can know that there might be someone, just like I'm knowing that our operations coordinator is looking for us, just like I'm looking for them. So thank you for that. Constance.
Okay, I'm asking this question not in any of my official roles. I'm asking this question as someone who comes in here and has been part of this community for a long time. And I just would really love to have someone explain to me the rationale about why we don't have a financial goal for our pledge campaigns. Why do we don't have a number that says we want to reach this? That's what I was asking. Yeah.
We have had in the past, so that could have been an oversight, but let me say this. Coming in brand new last year and being immersed in the budget process, because I was, and knowing how the whole thing works better now, is that we could stab at a number. We do pretty good at it, not so bad. But what ends up happening is whatever shortfall that in building the budget because of our expense, we always pad it to the income that we need to raise. So that always gets added to that pledge amount as far as an income that we need to raise. I don't know the answer to your question. It was just an oversight. So, you could have, yeah. I thought we had, like Reverend Jerry, didn't we, can you give her a mic?
Yes,
It was 300 and something.
Yeah, Constance is correct that we have always set a goal. But I think since COVID and over the last few years, we have not been able to meet that goal because we haven't been able to get in touch with where we are with our finances, our expenses and revenues. And I think right now, if we set a goal, I believe the goal should be 300,000. But we didn't make quite 200,000 this year, and I'm hoping we will can't meet that by the end of the year, there wasn't a thought put into setting a goal for this particular pledge campaign. I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's hard to set a high goal saying, well, we need 37,000 plus 16,000. We need that 50,000 above and beyond what we need for everything else. And you set a high goal that's just not,
It's not attainable. Yeah.
it doesn't feel attainable, although we need to have the consciousness to know that it is attainable.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, let's just open the door to, let us be an abundant community and let everyone give as best they can. And there really is no goal right now unless you want to establish one, Reverend Sunshine.
Yeah, well, you know, and I'll take the responsibility for that. You know, it was like Reverend Jerry said, it's time for it, and I knew it was too. It's time for the pledge campaign. It's like, you know, along with everything else. There's a lot to this running this organization, trust me. So, you know, we were running to catch up to the time frame that we needed to launch the campaign. So perhaps that was just an oversight, but it's a good idea. Yeah? I just wanted to say that you need to speak on mic.
I just really believe that people are givers and that people will give and that we'll get exactly what we need. So I choose to believe that. I can't put a number out there that I don't feel, I don't feel some vibration, some energy, some confidence in. But I know that our givers will give because they have been giving over the years, COVID or no COVID. So if you want to set a goal, we still have time to set a goal.
We do.
But
we do, thank you. And the other thing I would say is, you know, this is a pretty good turnout. I was counting heads, so we have 35 to 40. We need more people in here. Like, we need more people to be able to hear this conversation and for us to be able to talk about a goal so that they can have context for it.
And if I could jump in there, when you're out shopping at the grocery store, when you are going to different events, when you are waiting in line at the grocery store, talk to people. They're gonna see your energy. They're gonna say, what are you doing? What's up? I go to Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. Why don't you come on by? So those are ways to get people in. Those are ways that you can do out in your community to invite people into OCSL without having to do an event or go to the Pride Parade or anything like that. You can do it within your own community. Sending people about the November 17th concert. Anytime there is an event, make sure that you are sending it to every person that you know and encouraging them to share it with the people that they know and continuing on to put it on your Facebook and all that stuff. So this is all part of the piece of that we're all one, and we all need to do our part. I see Cheryl having her hand up.
Oh, I saw Cheryl's hand.
I'm Robert asked while we were talking.
Oh.
I just have a very quick suggestion. Because of the complexity, the depth of this conversation, it might behoove us to have like once a year, like maybe in the first quarter of the year, have a meeting like this that is strictly for the financials and just focus on that 100%, whether it's ideas for raising income or whatever it might be, rather than having it at the end of a long open forum where people have a lot of interest in that topic.
Yeah, and let me just say to that is strategic. On my part, I'll take the responsibility for the last open forum rather than start out with the financials, and probably we could alternate. I wanted to do some recognition. I wanted to do some of the other things rather than to start off with financials and have it go that way. Because it helps add context and consciousness when you can hear some of the other things and balance it, just in my mind. But you have a good point. Cheryl.
I agree with everything that has been said here. Absolutely everything. We need to do a better job of being visible. Idea one, just a thought. Do we, since we want to attract families, when we have our family events, there are a number of schools around here. Do we prepare a flyer? Do we drop them off at the administrative centers? Do we ask if we can put something on the bulletin board to promote an upcoming parking lot thing? Do we just do a better job of making sure that we establish visibility around our events that's not just contained within our community and saying, let's go word to mouth, but can we start marketing to local schools that we have this or that family event going on? Can we meta tag our website so that we get better visibility when somebody's searching in the area for the word, keywords?
Stay on mic, please.
Spiritual center, family-based worship, non-denominational centers. Do we have meta tags on our website such that we come up in those search categories?
And so I appreciate what you're saying. I'm going to shift the energy behind what I heard you saying, because that has me reared up, because it feels like this. So I know you don't mean it like that. I'm just, but here's the thing from my view, we've had a lot of balls to juggle, and we've had a lot of challenge with marketing. And so that's part of why we're focused on this City Scoop, to help us get our ideas together and to help us market in the communities that I think you're talking about. Like Beth, I know you were talking about posters and different things, and you know, the online presence that you're talking about, Cheryl, we have not been able to focus on as much as we need and want to, but it's kind of in the mind. So thank you for that, and I ask for compassion, and I ask for patience with us, because we're rolling with a lot of stuff right here.
And I would also say that those are great ideas, and we can bring all of our ideas. We also need doers. We need doers. There's a lot of people in this room that are doing, and we do a lot. So we need to get more people that also want to do. So yes, we're talking to City Scoop. Yes, we want to look into the ways in which we can increase our footprint and go out to the other communities, but we need more doers. So if you know doers, because I know everybody in this room is a doer, because you're here, we need to find ways of bringing in more doers. Okay?
Thank you. And so I'm going to start winding this down. I see some hands, so let me just call them out, and then I'm going to pause. I see Reverend Jerry, I see Dodie, and I might flip that. I haven't heard from Dodie yet, so, and then I see Constance. So hold your thought. Let me just, I know it may be related, but let me hear from Dodie. And then Dodie, before you speak, it's 5 after 1. 5 after 3. We didn't get started until 10 after 3. So I think we're in the sweet spot. Can we make an intention to be finished by 3:15? Okay. Yes.
Okay, my comment is when you're talking about, no, I don't have to stand. It's my husband. Stand.
That's
Let
why.
me just finish this.
That's why she has the mic.
We're talking about inclusive, and I had shared with Reverend Sunshine that I believe that we're getting ready for this big concert, and we're all doing it online. Some people are not online, and some people don't get the information or even know how to work to event page and all of that. So I suggested that we may try to have ticket purchases here, or some way that a person can just buy a ticket, as opposed to, I don't know, a lot of seniors don't really work the computer at all. And for myself, I'm trying to encourage someone to come with me. Now, I bought tickets for my husband and I. Well, we bought tickets. But I want to encourage my nephew or my niece to come. I didn't purchase them a ticket because this is a process to encourage them to come. And if they could come the day of, I can pay, I won't have a problem with it, but I wouldn't want to invest in tickets for them. Then now I don't feel like coming, or something to that effect. I'm just saying, it might be an opening for us to, you want to fill the room? Fill it.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing this up, because my bad, it was in my notes this morning, and I get carried away with myself sometimes too. I meant to say in my PSA, Gabriella was prepared outside with a computer to, and I meant to offer it, that if anyone needed assistance buying tickets, to your suggestion to me, that's why I said it and I forgot to mention it, is that she would have been out in the courtyard to help people buy their tickets. It's easier for us not to have paper tickets and to do it all on Eventbrite, but she had a laptop with Eventbrite up to support someone ordering buying their tickets. We will have tickets at the door, and so maybe we should start saying that. So we will do that next week, which will be the last week that we can do it on a Sunday. So I did hear your suggestion. Reverend Jerry, and then it was one more. Oh, Constance.
Just real briefly, Reverend Sunshine Michelle. First of all, I want to say that this has barely been a year. We're moving into a year, and I think you've done a fabulous job. And this is an amazing community, and there are a lot of moving parts, so I commend you for everything. And I absolutely know we're all going to get there. We're all going to reach this port safely. All these great ideas that are floating around, it's important for the conversations. The one thing I don't know, because I had to slip out a couple times, Maureen was saying doers. We need doers, and that's so true. We know that we run on our volunteerism, and I just want to take a moment to appreciate Craig and Amy for the beautiful job they do, setting up our coffee and our snacks. And I know that as lead, when I go in and they're there and I pray them in, I just know that their heart is in it. It's such a beautiful gift. So that's a very beautiful sign of doing that, yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate the appreciation. And, from first it's going to be Constance, Maureen, and then Deborah, that Andy has been telling me from day one that we need to do a volunteer appreciation. And there's just been, as you can tell, from all that was submitted in this deck, we have it was a lot to work with. And as hopefully you can also tell, I'm one to give thanks. I stand up here quite often and thank a variety of people. And so I'm all about thanks. So we will be doing a volunteer appreciation. We just have to schedule it in. Constance and then Deborah.
I just wanted to speak a little bit to our footprint that Cheryl was talking about. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I took several classes that CSL had offered on using Google and using Google Business and some of the other things. And out of that, I learned quite a bit, and I implemented a lot of that, one of which was to actually create a little video, which is on our YouTube channel, so that people who are not subscribed, if they go to our YouTube channel, the first thing they see is the video, and then it asks them to subscribe. Our subscriptions have gone way up because of that. It would be really good to keep that kind of thing up, but I just don't have the bandwidth. I'm only one person. And the same thing with, for a while, I was posting to Google Business every week. I just don't have the time to do that. And there's lots of other things that can be done, but again, it goes back to what Maureen says, is we need doers, and not just doers who are going to go put things on a bulletin board. It's really something that I find really interesting that we have such intelligent and creative and wonderful people in this community, and we're a really low-tech community, given that we are in the middle of one of the highest tech areas in the whole world, and so we need not only doers, but we need doers who are not scared of computers, and it doesn't mean you have to know how to do it. You just don't have to be scared of it. That's all you have to do, because it takes a mind shift, and we're all about change your mind, change your life. So if you're scared of the computer, work on changing your mind, because it's not something you need to be scared of.
Yeah, we have some work ahead. We really do, and so that's why I call what I mentioned, the front of the house transformation for self-check-in a campaign, because I want to empower people so that they're not afraid to come check in. I think once we get it going, it'll be like that, where it'll just be easy and they're more willing to do it if they understand why we're doing it. Like you're sneaking up on me. Why you want to know that information, as opposed to we're trying to give you what we think you need and want. Okay, can I have Deborah be the last one so that we can do a closing if we're going to get out of here at 3:15?
I just want to say This has been a fabulous meeting, and a lot has been said, and I hope we can keep it going in terms of financials. But someone said that all it takes is that we are a deficit of $2,000 a month. I just brought back, and many of you already know, that we do an annual vision board party, and we took that idea and turned it into a calendar. I have the calendars here to be sold starting today for $20, and everyone can help in terms of eliminating that $2,000 a month. It is $20. I have it, and I would like for everyone in this congregation to buy at least one, but also start looking at it as your Christmas presents, your Thanksgiving presents, your birthday presents, or any present, so it can go directly to the center. Thank you.
What a commercial that was, right? And thank you, Deborah, for your generosity. I know, Reverend Sally, you've helped her with that, and for the last couple of years, you have donated entire proceeds from that calendar that really say a lot. And so thank you for your creativity and your generosity for doing that for the community. So, beloveds, let's just take a breath on that. Let's just you know, just maybe if you're willing and able, let's stand up and shake and move a little bit. Just let's move the energy and just let it go. Shake your legs, your hands, your head, your any of that, whatever that is. And I am going to have Reverend Sally to pray us out. And thank you for your time and attention and for coming. This is more than it was last time, and I want the next one to be more than this.
All right, beloveds, I invite you to turn within. And as we turn within in this delicious silent moment, this moment of recognition that there is a divine power and presence that is fully present right here and right now. And it is love, it is prosperity, it is joy, it is wonder, it is awe. It is the mundane, the profane, and the sacred. Oh my. And I know that it is my life. It is the life of each and every beloved's here in this sanctuary and on live stream. And I am so grateful to be a part of this community, this Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, where we teach spiritual living and we live spiritual teachings, as is fully present in this open forum this afternoon. The transparency of the sharing, the openness to the questions and the suggestions. I am grateful to be part of this community, and I give thanks to Reverend Sunshine Michelle for leading us in this community. I give thanks to the Board of Trustees. I give thanks to each and every leader of each and every group. And I give thanks to all who come and participate. I am grateful. And if any of this resonates with you, I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. Amen.
There we go. Have a good week, beloveds.
Thank you. Well done.
Yay.
Yes.
We got through it.
Yes.